The darkness was all-encompassing, a void that swallowed me whole. There were no sensations, no thoughts, just a sense of nothingness that stretched on for an eternity. It was as if I had ceased to exist, my consciousness trapped in an endless void. But then, like a whisper in the wind, I began to feel a presence. It was faint, distant, but it pulled at me, tugging me out of the abyss. Slowly, painfully, I began to regain my sense of self, my awareness returning like a dim light flickering to life. I tried to move, to call out, but my efforts were met with resistance. It was as if I was trapped, bound by invisible chains that held me in place. Panic surged through me, the realization dawning that I was no longer where I had been before. I was somewhere else, somewhere beyond the realm of the living. And then, with a rush of energy, I burst forth from the darkness, my body convulsing as I took my first breath in what felt like an eternity. I was on the cold, hard ground, surrounded by shadows that seemed to writhe and shift. My vision was blurred, my senses overwhelmed by the sensation of being alive once more. As my surroundings came into focus, I realized that I was in a graveyard. Tombstones loomed over me, their shapes distorted by the moonlight. The air was heavy with the scent of damp earth and decay. I tried to remember how I had gotten here, but my memories were fragmented, like shards of glass scattered in my mind. Fear gripped me as I struggled to my feet, my limbs shaky and uncooperative. The ground seemed to sway beneath me, as if I was standing on the precipice of something incomprehensible. The graveyard stretched out in all directions, a maze of death and darkness that seemed to go on forever. I stumbled forward, each step a struggle as I tried to make sense of my surroundings. And then, as I reached the edge of the graveyard, I saw it. A figure standing in the shadows, its eyes gleaming with an otherworldly light. "Welcome back!" a voice hissed, its words slithering through the air like a serpent. "You were dead, but now you're not!" I tried to speak, to demand answers, but my voice failed me. I could only watch as the figure emerged from the shadows, revealing its twisted, contorted form. Its skin was pale and mottled, its limbs elongated and unnatural. It was a being that defied all logic, a creature that should not exist in the realm of the living. "Who are you?" I managed to croak, my fear mingling with a strange sense of fascination. The figure's lips curled into a malevolent smile, its eyes locking onto mine with an intensity that sent shivers down my spine. "I am the one who brought you back," it whispered. "I am the key that unlocked the door between life and death." I recoiled, the implications of its words sinking in. It had brought me back from the dead, but at what cost? What had I become in the process? The figure seemed to sense my unease, its smile widening as it took a step closer. "Death is not the end," it murmured, its voice a chilling melody. "There are realms beyond your comprehension, places where the boundaries between life and death are blurred, and now you are part of that tapestry." A wave of nausea swept over me, my body trembling as I struggled to process what I was hearing. This was a nightmare, a twisted reality that I had been thrust into against my will. I wanted to escape, to return to the life I had known before, but the figure's presence was suffocating, its influence impossible to ignore. "You have a choice," it continued, its eyes burning with an unnatural intensity. "You can return to the world of the living, but know that you will forever be connected to the realm of the dead. Or you can embrace your new existence, your newfound power, and join me in the depths of the abyss." I was torn, my mind a whirlwind of conflicting emotions. I had been given a second chance at life, but at what cost? The figure's offer was tempting, a seductive promise of power and knowledge beyond imagination. But it was also a path that led to darkness, a path that would forever alter my very essence. As I stood there, my heart pounding in my chest, I realized that I had to make a choice. Whatever I chose, there would be no going back. The figure's eyes bore into mine, its presence a weight that pressed down on me, urging me to decide. And so, with a trembling breath, I made my decision. As the figure spoke, a sense of camaraderie filled the air, a shared understanding of the void that bound us together. And yet, beneath the surface, I sensed an undercurrent of tension, a clash of egos and desires that threatened to fracture the unity of this assembly. But amidst the discord, one truth remained clear. The abyss had changed us all, had granted us power beyond imagination, and had left us with an emptiness that could never be filled. We were beings that straddled the line between life and death, our existence a testament to the consequences of our choices. As the gathering continued, I couldn't shake the feeling that there was more to this realm than met the eye. Beneath the surface, hidden within the shadows and the whispers, lay secrets that were waiting to be uncovered. And as I looked around at my fellow embracers of the abyss, I knew that our journeys were far from over, that the path ahead was fraught with uncertainty, danger, and the constant reminder that some choices could lead us further into the darkness than we could ever imagine. As time passed within this realm of shifting shadows and enigmatic beings, I found myself drawn deeper into its mysteries. The void within me continued to gnaw at my consciousness, a constant reminder of the price I had paid for my newfound power. But with each passing day, I grew more adept at harnessing that power, at manipulating the threads of existence to my will. The figure that had brought me back from the dead remained my guide, my mentor in this realm of uncertainty. It taught me how to traverse the boundaries between different planes, how to communicate with entities that existed beyond mortal comprehension. I became a seeker of knowledge, delving into forbidden tomes that held secrets that would drive others to madness. But with knowledge came danger. I discovered that the abyss was not a realm without consequence, that there were forces that sought to exploit its power for their own gain. Beings of unimaginable malevolence lurked in the shadows, drawn to the void that bound us together. They whispered promises of even greater power, of unlocking secrets that would grant me dominion over reality itself. At first, I resisted their temptations, clinging to the teachings of the figure that had guided me thus far. But the emptiness within me grew stronger, the hunger for more power intensifying with each passing day. The whispers of these malevolent entities became harder to ignore, their promises seductive and enticing. And so, with a mixture of trepidation and desperation, I began to entertain their offers. I sought forbidden rituals, ancient incantations that would grant me access to even greater depths of power. I communed with beings from realms beyond, entities that were as old as time itself, their motives shrouded in mystery. But as I delved deeper into the darkness, I could feel the void within me expanding, growing more insatiable with every step I took. The power I gained came at a cost I was becoming increasingly willing to pay. My interactions with the malevolent entities grew more frequent, their influence over me more potent. One fateful night, as the moon hung low in the sky and the air was thick with anticipation, I performed a ritual that would grant me access to a realm beyond even the abyss. I felt the energy surge through me, the boundaries between realities fracturing as I crossed into a place that defied description. The realm that greeted me was one of darkness and fire, a place where reality seemed to twist and bend at every turn. I was met by a being of immense power, its form shifting and changing as if it couldn't decide on a single shape. Its eyes burned with a malevolence that sent a shiver down my spine. "You seek greater power," the being hissed, its voice echoing through the void. "You are willing to pay any price for it." I nodded, my voice barely a whisper. "I want to return to hell, to embrace the darkness fully." The being's laughter was a cacophony of whispers that seemed to emanate from all directions. "Very well, mortal. I shall grant your wish, but know that once you descend into the depths, there is no turning back." And with those words, I felt a searing pain that radiated from the depths of my very soul. The darkness closed in around me, a suffocating embrace that threatened to consume me whole. I screamed, my voice lost in the void as I was pulled deeper and deeper into a maelstrom of chaos and despair. As I descended into the depths, the emptiness within me grew more pronounced, the hunger for power becoming an all-consuming force. I was no longer in control, no longer a seeker of knowledge. I was a pawn in a game that I could no longer comprehend. The boundaries between reality and illusion blurred, the very fabric of my being unraveling as I embraced the darkness with reckless abandon. The realm I found myself in was a nightmare brought to life. Fire and brimstone stretched out in all directions, an inferno that seemed to have no end. Twisted landscapes merged with swirling vortexes of energy, creating a nightmarish tapestry that defied logic and reason. The malevolent being that had granted my wish loomed over me, its form shifting and morphing in ways that made my head spin. Its eyes bore into mine, its presence a constant reminder of the power it held over me. I had embraced the darkness fully, had descended into a realm of torment and chaos. But with my newfound power came a heavy price, a loss of self, a loss of identity. I was no longer the person I had once been. The void within me had consumed all that remained of my humanity, leaving behind only a shell that was driven solely by the hunger for power. The emptiness was no longer a reminder. It was a defining aspect of my existence. I moved through the realm like a specter, my thoughts consumed by the desire to harness the power that surrounded me. I communed with other entities that dwelled in this realm of torment, beings that were as lost and twisted as I was. We shared stories of our past lives, our desires, our regrets, all of it rendered insignificant in the face of the overwhelming power that now coursed through our veins. But as the days turned into nights and the flames of the abyss continued to burn, a sense of unease began to settle over me. The malevolent being that had granted my wish had not done so out of benevolence. It had its own agenda, its own motives that were far beyond my understanding. I realized that I was no longer in control of my fate, that I was a pawn in a game that I could never win. The darkness had consumed me, its hunger insatiable, its power both exhilarating and suffocating, and with each passing moment, I felt a growing sense of dread, a realization that I had willingly walked into a trap, that I had sacrificed my humanity for a power that was beyond my control. As I moved through the twisted landscapes of the abyss, I encountered other beings like me, lost souls who had embraced the darkness in pursuit of power. But their eyes held a vacancy, a hollowness that mirrored my own. We were all slaves to the malevolent forces that held dominion over this realm, puppets dancing on strings that we could never escape. I sought answers, sought a way to break free from the chains that bound me to this realm of torment. But the malevolent being remained elusive, its presence taunting me from the shadows. It reveled in our suffering, in our desperation, feeding off the power that we had willingly surrendered to it. And then, in a moment of clarity amidst the chaos, I realized the truth. I had been lured into this abyss, manipulated into embracing the darkness by a being that thrived on the suffering it caused. The power I had gained was a double-edged sword, a gift that had been poisoned from the very beginning. I had fallen into the trap, willingly surrendering my humanity and becoming a puppet in the malevolent being's game. As this realization dawned on me, a fire ignited within me, a spark of defiance that pushed back against the suffocating darkness. I refused to be a pawn any longer, to be controlled by forces beyond my understanding. The hunger for power that had consumed me was now channeled into a singular goal: to break free from the malevolent being's grasp. With newfound determination, I sought out other beings who shared my desire to escape. Together, we formed a coalition of souls who had been manipulated into embracing the abyss. We shared our stories, our experiences, and our collective knowledge. And as we united our strength, we discovered that the malevolent being's power was not as absolute as it seemed. Through sheer force of will, we managed to weaken the malevolent being's influence over us. We channeled our combined power, creating a surge of energy that disrupted the twisted reality of the abyss. The flames that had once consumed us wavered, the very fabric of the realm beginning to unravel. But as the darkness began to recede, the malevolent being revealed its true form, a monstrous entity of chaos and malevolence, a force that dwarfed our collective power. It unleashed a wave of energy that threatened to consume us once more, its laughter echoing through the void as it reveled in our struggles. We fought back with everything we had, our unity and determination a formidable weapon against the malevolent being's power. The battle raged on, the very essence of the abyss shifting and distorting, as our combined energy clashed with the malevolent force that sought to keep us under its control. In the midst of this cosmic battle, a voice that seemed to echo from the depths of the void, reached out to us. It was a voice that held a familiarity, a voice that resonated with a glimmer of hope. It was the figure that had brought me back from the dead, the one who had guided me through the darkness. "Weakness is the malevolent being's strength," the figure's voice whispered, its words a beacon of insight in the midst of the chaos. "It thrives on the power it wields over you. But together, united against its influence, you have the power to break free." With the figure's guidance, we harnessed the power of the abyss itself, channeling it into a concentrated force that shattered the malevolent being's hold over us. The realm of torment crumbled around us, the very fabric of the abyss unraveling as the malevolent entity's power waned. And then, in a blinding flash of light, the darkness receded, and I found myself standing once again in the graveyard where my journey had begun. The malevolent being's influence was gone, replaced by a sense of liberation that was both exhilarating and surreal. But I was changed, irrevocably changed. The void within me remained, a constant reminder of the choices I had made, the price I had paid. I had journeyed into the abyss and emerged with a newfound understanding of the consequences of unchecked desire for power. As I stood amidst the tombstones, the wind whispering through the air, I knew that I could never fully return to the life I had known before. The emptiness within me would forever be a part of my existence, a reminder of the darkness I had embraced. But I also knew that the abyss was not the only path that lay before me. There were realms beyond imagination, forces beyond comprehension, and a world that extended far beyond the boundaries of the living and the dead. I had tasted the forbidden fruit of power, and now I had a choice: to use that power wisely, to resist the allure of darkness, and to forge my own path in a world that held more mysteries than I could ever fathom. And as I looked up at the moonlit sky, a sense of determination settled within me. The abyss had consumed me and then released its grip, but I would not allow it to define me. I would use the power I had gained to make a difference, to protect others from the temptations of the darkness, and to ensure that the horrors I had faced in the abyss would never again be unleashed upon the world.